distinguished members of the Young Directors Forum of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, the time is now 11:08 a.m. Will the Secretary to the Young Directors Forum kindly confirm that we have a quorum to start the general meeting?
Yes, I hereby confirm. I hereby confirm that we have a quorum to start this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Distinguished members of the YDF Forum, I now have the pleasure of welcoming you to the second general meeting of the YDF Forum of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria, and I declare this meeting duly convened. In the absence of any apologies from members of the ESCO that we have received, may I call on the second Vice President for the opening prayer. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim. Ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Amen. Let us also say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as it is in heaven. Give us this day and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Lord, we pray as we gather this morning for the Young Directors Forum, that you continue to guide our efforts and continue to lift up the leadership of this great organization, which is part of the Chartered Institute of Directors. I pray that all the deliberations at this AGM go smoothly. We thank you and we pray for all of these things. Amen.
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to introduce to you members of the High Table and members of the Young Directors Forum Executive Committee. Before we proceed, I would like to introduce the President and Chairman of the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria, Alhaji M. Tijani Borodo. You're welcome, sir. Next to him, I would also like to introduce the Chairperson of the YDF Advisory Committee, who is also the legal advisor to the Council, Dr. Adeyinka Hassan. You're welcome, sir. To his left, I would like to introduce the Electoral Committee Chairperson, Mr. Oluseyi Aoko. You're welcome, sir. To my right, we have the Secretary to the YDF Forum, Mrs. Abiola Olasende. You're welcome. And we also have certainly not the last. We have Mrs. Sena, who will be representing the MDCU, Dr. Dele Alimi. You're welcome. Thank you very much. I will now call on the Secretary to the YDF Forum to read the notice convening the second general meeting of the YDF Forum.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Notice of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria Young Directors Forum, second annual general meeting. Notice is hereby given that the second annual general meeting of the Young Directors Forum of the Institute will hold on Thursday, 13th February at 11 a.m. at the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria Training Room at 28 Olawale Edun Street, formerly Cameroon Road, Ikoyi, Lagos, to transact the following businesses. Agenda 1. Presentation of Chairman's reports. To elect members of the YDF executives. Presentation of the Electoral Committee report for the YDF executive elections. Resolution for the appointment of the elected members of the YDF executives. Agenda number 3, swearing in of new YDF executives by the President and Chairman of Council. Number 4, remarks by the President, Chairman, Governing Council, Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria. Closing. Proxy. A member of the YDF Forum entitled to attend and vote at the meeting may appoint a proxy to attend and vote on his or her behalf. A proxy must be a financial member of the forum. Members nominating proxies must be current financial members. A proxy form should be completed and sent to or deposited at the CIoD National Secretariat on or before 10th February 2025 by order of the Young Directors Forum executives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'll now read my report. The President and Chairman of the Governing Council and Executive Committee of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria, members of the Governing Council and Executive Committee of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria, fellows and members of the Institute, Executive Committee members of the Young Directors Forum, members of the Young Directors Forum, our valued guests and associates, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be here this morning as a pioneer chairperson of the Executive Committee of the Young Directors Forum, Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria. Once again, I welcome you all to this general meeting on behalf of the Institute. I am delighted to share the report of the forum, our activities, achievements, and challenges over the past 2 years. In the words of Nathaniel Autumn, time flies over us, but leaves its shadows behind us. We have put our best foot forward. We have served diligently and in honor of the Institute. It is with heartfelt gratitude and a deep sense of honor that I read out this report on behalf of myself and executive management of the Young Directors Forum. The Executive Committee, comprising seasoned and passionate young professionals, in December 2022 were mandated by the then President and Chairman of the Governing Council, Dr. E.J. Jidema, to develop and organize networking and knowledge sharing sessions and events to equip and build the competencies of upcoming and contemporary directors. We were charged to conduct ourselves respectively and make the Institute proud as ambassadors of integrity, professionalism, and ethical conduct, some of the core values of the Institute. We were also mandated to create awareness about the forum and grow the membership of the forum by curating capacity building programs that will endear younger and aspiring directors to the Institute as one of its contribution to national development and ensuring that corporate governance principles are enshrined in the management of organizations and ensure that we have sustainable businesses in the long term. The forum's activities were centered on key considerations for startups in the first year. We looked at the term sustainability and ESG, and of course the term inclusion as a pathway to sustainability of organizations. This is especially so as the Institute has imbibed some of these principles in the management of its affairs, and it has churned out tremendous success. We had 3 NKSS sessions and events throughout that year that touched on ESG, inclusion, and mentorship as pillars of growth and capacity building mechanisms for individuals and organizations alike. We also had the Elders Appreciation Night, where we were awarded the past leadership of the Institute for conceiving the YDF vision and to celebrate the succession planning initiative of the forum and the synergy and continuity of leadership within the Institute. In October 2023, the forum held its maiden annual conference themed Building a Sustainable Business, the Place of Sustainability Reporting. The conference was centered on proper sustainability reporting and its benefits, corporate governance principles and best practices, and how to enshrine same in our everyday activities, and how, of course, the implementation of these principles can transform small businesses into leading businesses. We also launched our first ever Young Directors Digest with articles from experts in ESG, Dr. Bankole Alibe, sustainability reporting in interview with subject matter experts, Mrs. Omobolanle Victor Olanio, mentorship articles by Dr. Grant, a renowned fellow of the Institute, and other notable articles from members and friends of the forum and the Institute. In the second year of our tenure, we turned our attention to the entrepreneurial landscape of Nigeria. Our activities were geared towards promoting and upscaling businesses and business practices for SMEs. Of course, the focus was also on director initiatives to ensure that entrepreneurs progress, from the small stage to larger organizations. We looked into the challenges faced by budding entrepreneurs, including inefficient business practices, rising staff attrition rates, talent retention mechanisms to curb same, board composition, and of course the role of directors to ensure business sustainability. We hosted HR specialists, board experts, and industry leaders during our NKSS sessions who enlightened our members about their role in mapping out strategies to address some of these issues. Our facilitators explored reversing the brain drain, managing and combating the JAPA syndrome, curating enviable staff retention packages regardless of your business size. The value proposition of an effective board and the composition of same were also touched on. The forum's second annual conference, themed Empowering SMEs, Addressing the Funding Deficit, in line with our focus for the year, was aimed at aiding young entrepreneurs and directors in becoming investment ready, accessing capital opportunities that are available, and attracting public, private, and angel investors to their businesses. In all of the events mentioned above, we ensure that we enjoy the full support of the President and members of the Governing Council, as well as the sound counsel and advice from the Chairman of the Advisory Committee of the Forum and also some of their members. While we recorded remarkable achievements, I must acknowledge that we had certain challenges, some of which included funding challenges, secretarial manpower, and of course our members yearning for more inclusion with the main IRG. Members also from time to time requested for more initiatives to ensure that there's a collaboration with the national in terms of programs. And then of course they wanted more discounts, and at some point also requested for ability to attend some of the programs of the institute without paying, because they feel it's a CSR initiative and they're asking for more. I use this opportunity to speak to President, who is always yearning and listening, always very ready to collaborate with us and ensure that the mission behind the YDF is achieved. And I know that he's paying close attention to this report. Thank you very much, Mr. President. While we recorded some of these achievements and some of our engagement with potential members, like I said, one key issue also stood out: added value proposition for the forum. Doc talked about some of the free participation for IRD events that they requested for. Nonetheless, we were able to increase our membership by nearly 80%. At the time we started, I think we were about roughly about 30 members. But right now we're about 78. I know that there's a whole lot more required from us. Thank you very much. But we tried our best to put our best foot forward and espouse some of the benefits of the forum to potential members. I wish to express my sincere appreciation once again to Mr. President for his support, relentless support. Whenever myself and my team call on him, he's always available. I also want to thank very much the first and the second vice presidents, who are always available for all our presidents, and today we can see a testament that they're all here to support us. Of course, we also want to thank Dr. Adenika Hassan and the DG of the Institute, Dr. Dele Alimi, and every member of the executive committee and council of the YDF. Some of our members as well for always attending, because without them, certainly there are no programs. Especially I also want to thank, as I round up, our facilitators and our sponsors for their unwavering support, without which none of these achievements would have been possible. As my timer winds up to a close, I am confident in the leadership of the incoming executive committee, to be led by none other than my very able vice chairperson, Mr. Ayu, for his support to our pledge my continued support to the Institute and as well and to the Young Directors Forum. I charge members of the Forum to remain steadfast in the Forum's commitment to building a greater corporate Nigeria by ensuring that they enrich themselves with competencies and skills as young entrepreneurs and directors in forging and building more sustainable and successful businesses as we move forward to the next leadership of the forum. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria, long live the Chartered Institute of Nigeria, and long live the Young Directors Forum. Thank you. Having read my report, I don't know if there are any reactions, questions, comments before we proceed. In the absence of none, may we move to the next item on the agenda, which is the election of members of the Young Directors Forum Executives. Pursuant to the provisions of the YDF Operational Manual and policy provisions, the following members of the Executive Committee of the Young Directors Forum are to retire, having completed their tenure on the Executive Committee, namely Mrs. Folashade Akim-Shure, Mr. Ayo, Mrs. Lasende Abiola, Mr. Aoko Oluseyi, Mr. Joshawo Oluwabukola, Ms. Adekola Azizat Omobola, Mr. Shukefun Oluwaseun, Mr. Tunji Afolabi, Mr. Uzozobo Fabulous, Ms. Emerson Adegui Omowumi, Ms. Victoria Ogehi, and Mr. Dele Alimi Temi Edun. I would like to inform members of the Young Directors Forum that the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria has approved for the review of the current composition of the YDF Executive Committee from 12 positions to 5 positions. I would also like to formally inform members of the Young Directors Forum that following a resolution of the Governing Council during its most recent meeting held in 2024, and in order to align our activities with the succession plan of the Institute, the YDF will now have the current chairman, and Mr. Ayo will now succeed me as chairman of the YDF Forum. Additionally, the tenure of the YDF Executive Committee will now be 1 year, 1 calendar year only. As such, the positions being contested for and available for the 2025 YDF Executive Committee elections are as follows. First, Vice Chairman. Second, Vice Chairman. Secretary, Assistant Secretary, and Treasurer. Distinguished members of the Young Directors Forum, the following members are seeking re-election and election into the YDF Executive Committee. Number 1, Atizat Omobola Adekola as First Vice President, Ayomika Olajide Awosedo as Second Vice President, Tosi Koya as Secretary, and Ugonna Ofuzule as Assistant Secretary. I now invite the Chairman of the 3-member Electoral Committee, Mr. Oluseyi Aoko, to present the result of the YDF Executive Committee elections. Thank you.
I stand on all existing protocols. I now present the report on nominations for the Young Directors Forum Executive Committee election. This report provides an overview of the nominations received for the Young Directors Forum, YDF Executive Committee elected positions, following the call for nominations as per the guidelines issued on Monday, the 13th of January 2025. Outlines the verification of nominations, compliance with eligibility requirements, and observation regarding the absence of a nomination for the treasurer position, challenges encountered, and the recommendation for proceeding with the available nominees. Now, as regards the nomination process, the guidelines outlined in the call for the YDF nominations publications. The nomination period commenced on 13th of January 2025 and was supposed to end on Sunday, 19th of January 2025. However, because of the low number of nominations, the nomination period was extended by a week, and the call for nomination closed on Sunday, 26th of January 2025. Nominees were required to meet the following eligibility criteria. Number one, you have to be a financial member of the YDF for at least 2 years. Number two, you ought to have actively participated in the YDF activities and attended at least 3 YDF programs, including 1 flagship conference in the last 2 years. Number three, you are to be nominated by a financial member in good standing as of 31st of December 2024. You ought to have attended at least 50% of the YDF executive meetings. This is for those seeking the elections. Number five, you ought to submit a completed nomination and contestant form, a passport photograph, and a brief profile. Upon the thorough review of the submitted nominations and endorsements, all candidates for the available positions have met the stipulated eligibility requirements. Now I go on to the nominations that were received. For the position of the first vice chairman, the nominee was Azizat Omobola Adekola, who was nominated by Mr. Eyo Kofion. For the position of the second vice chairman, Mr. Ayoyinka Olajide Awosedo was nominated by Mr. Eyo Ofion Eyo. For the post of the secretary, Mr. Tosin Koya was nominated by the outgoing chairperson of the YDF, Mrs. Akinoshere. For the post of the assistant secretary, Mr. Ugona Fulwe was nominated by the outgoing chairperson of the YDF as well. As earlier stated, the post of the treasurer, there was no nomination. There was no person that was nominated. There was no nomination from anyone. As regards the nomination review process, all nominees were assessed against the eligibility criteria outlined in the call for nominations, which required that they were to be financial members for at least 2 years, they were to be active participants in YDF programs, they were to be attendees at a minimum of 3 YDF programs, including at least 1 flagship conference in the last 2 years. They were also supposed to be in compliance with financial outstanding requirements as of 31st December 2024. In addition, they were also supposed to be nomination by a YDF member in good financial standing. And lastly, there was also supposed to be submission of completed nominations and contestant forms. All nominees met the stipulated eligibility requirements and have been duly verified. The challenges we encountered. The first one was as regards low participation in nominations, despite the extension of the nomination period by at least 1 week. The numbers of the nominations still ranges. There was also a lack of nomination for the post of treasurer, as no nominations was received for this role, leaving the position to be vacant. Our observations. All nominees for the 4 nominated positions have fulfilled the requirements and are eligible to be presented to the General House unopposed, considering there were no opponents for these positions during the call for the nominations period. Lastly, the absence of a nomination for the post of the treasurer poses a gap in the intended leadership selection. The YDF executives will consider electing the treasurer either during the general meeting or at a date decided upon by the new YDF executive committee. Our recommendations. Given the low number of nominations, the electoral committee hereby advises the YDF executive to consider proceeding with the available nominees without conducting elections. Instead, the nominated individuals should be presented for ratification at the general meeting scheduled for today, which is Thursday, February 13th, 2025. For the treasurer position, it is recommended that either a special nomination process be initiated post-election to fill the vacancy, or the newly constituted executives to be given the mandate to appoint a qualified candidate for the role. Conclusion. The nomination process has been successfully completed for 4 out of the 5 executive positions, with all verified candidates meeting the eligibility requirements. The YDF executives is advised to deliberate on the next steps regarding the unfulfilled treasurer position. We appreciate the executive's trust in the electoral committee and commitment for ensuring a transparent and credible election process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oshie, for your report. I also want to thank you and your executive committee members, comprising Mr. Fabulous Zozobo and Ms. Damilola Shemaya James, for the job well done. I hereby ask this assembly that the members scheduled for ratification as executive committee members kindly stand up for recognition. Thank you very much. I also propose a resolution that the newly elected committee at the end of today be authorized to fill the treasurer position as led by the chairman. All in favor, kindly say aye.
Yes. Yes.
If there are any dissenting opinions to that resolution, please kindly state so. So it's unanimously carried that the newly elected executive committee shall be filling the treasurer position. Thank you very much. As such, the positions being contested haven't been filled. I would like to state that we'll move resolutions in accordance with the recommendations made by the electoral committee. The first resolution would be that the elected members of the YDF Executive Committee, namely Mr. Ayo, be elected as the chairman, Azizat Omobolanle Adekola as the first vice chairman, Ayoyinka Olajide Awusedo as the second vice chairman, Tosin Koya as the secretary, and Ugonna Ofulwe as assistant secretary. I hereby propose a resolution that they be appointed to the Young Directors Forum Executives of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria. Will a member propose that the appointment of the duly elected executives be heard as a single resolution? Can I get someone to kindly propose?
I thought you proposed somebody should say.
Sorry, second, I mean. Apologies.
You are not a Any member? Can somebody second?
Okay, can we have someone online?
There's somebody there at the back.
Okay.
There's somebody.
Please kindly state your name for the records.
Something I just said. I hereby second the motion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As there are no further questions, are there any questions with respect to the resolutions passed? If there are no questions, I will now put the resolution to the meeting. With those in favor indicate by raising up their hands. Everyone in favor, please kindly raise up your hands. The resolution has been moved. It has been seconded. We now seek to pass it. Everyone, if you're in favor, please kindly raise up your hands. This is so everyone here. Please, thank you very much. Yes. There are no dissenting positions to this. Any dissenting positions? I would like to congratulate, therefore, the newly elected YDF executive members and thank the outgoing members of the YDF Executive Committee and members of the forum for the opportunity to have served in the last 2 years. I also thank Mr. President and members of the Governing Council, the Chairman and members of the YDF Advisory Council, led by Dr. Adeyin Kassan, the DG, Dr. Alimi, Dele Alimi, and of course his team and members of the Secretariat for their support received during our tenure. I now invite the President and Chairman of the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria, Alhaji Tijani M. Borojo, YDF-CIoD, to give his goodwill remarks and of course his appreciation remarks to the outgoing ESCO, and swearing the new chairman and the YDF executive committee members. Over to you, Mr. President. Thank you, sir.
I want to upfront congratulate the members of the Young Directors Forum. It's a new startup, and we're really proud to see how far you people have moved it on. And I believe the next ESCO will move it to the next level. I will assure you that the Governing Council is proud of what you've been doing and will continue to support you. All of us would have been here, but for one reason or the other members of the PCAC are not there, but they send their goodwill. But at least 3 of us are here: the Honorable Legal Advisor, the Second Vice President, and myself. So, having said that, let me go to the formal aspect of it. This is my goodwill message to this body. The distinguished members of the PCSC and Governing Council here, fellows and members of our institute, executive members of the Young Directors Forum, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to address you all as we mark another milestone in the history of Young Directors Forum at this annual general meeting and the swearing in of the new executive. Today marks not just a leadership transition, but a renewal of our unwavering commitment to development and entrenchment of good corporate governance, ethical leadership, and efforts to ensure the continued growth of our institute. The Young Directors Forum is the future of the institute and a channel established by the institute to entrench the tenets of good corporate governance and transparent leadership in our young, upcoming industry leaders and leaders in the public sector. The institute therefore expects members of the YDF to embody the core values of our institute: impact, meaning, integrity, meritocracy, professionalism, accountability, customer centricity, and teamwork. I congratulate the inaugural executive committee of the YDF, led by Mrs. Shade, for the wonderful pioneering work they did to keep the aspiration of the institute alive in the last 2 years. The institute is grateful for your efforts, which will no doubt remain historical in the annals of the YDF. For the new ESCO, as we today entrust you with a significant responsibility, one that requires your dedication, passion, and tenacity, we believe in your potential to drive initiatives that will foster collaboration among young directors, enhance skills development, and promote best practices in corporate governance throughout your advocacy activities. I encourage you to embrace the challenges ahead with a spirit of resilience and enthusiasm as you embark on this journey. Your leadership will not only facilitate the growth of your peers, but also contribute to the broader objectives of our institute. Together, we can invigorate the Young Directors Forum, inspire future leaders, and position the institute as a beacon of excellence. As you settle into your new roles, I charge you to embrace the innovation, not just in business practices, but also in the way we engage with our members. Be the champions of ethical leadership and good governance. Promote discussions around the role of directors in fostering sustainable business practices and corporate responsibility, and be the champions of ethical leadership and good governance. I want to emphasize that your success is linked to your commitment to the values and missions of the Institute. Your proactive engagement and tireless efforts will determine not only your success, but the success of those who will follow in your footsteps. I encourage every one of you to work together in union as a team to achieve all of these goals and objectives. In conclusion, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for dedicating your time and energy to this critical role. Together, we will navigate the path ahead, united under our shared vision of elevating directorship in Nigeria. Let us embrace this opportunity with enthusiasm and integrity, knowing that as leaders, we have the power to shape the future. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening to me. Now, having said the formal aspect of it, I've taken some notes when the outgoing chairperson was making her speech. From what she has said, we have 17 members. My charge to the new ESCO is, in the next 1 year, I want that 78 members. I want that 78 members doubled. You can do it. I know you can do it. So please, because membership, this is a membership organization. Try and drive that, and I assure you whatever support you need from the PCSC, you're going to get it. We need to drive the membership of the Young Directors Forum. A lot of you also know we've started the mentoring program. These are all initiatives we have so that we can prepare the future for the Institute. So this is my charge to you. Secondly, there should be more inclusion in the activities of the Institute. That's what Shade asked for. Ask for free participation or discounts. The second vice president has listened. We'll look at it. There's no free lunch, but we'll see how we can encourage, because it's in our own interest to get more and more of the members of the Young Directors Forum participate in the activities of the Institute. I assure you we'll do that. The other charge I will make to you is that next year, by the time you are going to have the elections, please do enough sensitization so that your members can clearly elect the executives. There's a poor turnout, but I'm happy that we've been able to get an elected ESCO. So my charge to you is that do enough sensitization early enough before the election so that members will know that they have the responsibility to elect the leadership of their institute. With these few remarks, I want to thank you for listening. So we'll go to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item on the agenda is for the swearing in of the Executive Committee, which will be taken by Mr. President himself. Over to you, sir.
You have the oath of office. So we'll take the oath of office now. In accepting the office of the CIoD Nigeria Young Directors Chairperson of the forum, which you have been elected to discharge to the best of your ability the duties of the office. Will you do that?
I will.
Will you uphold the professional standing, honor, and dignity of the Institute at all times by example and precepts?
I will.
Will you be governed by the Institute Code of Ethics and abide by the rules, regulations, and procedures contained in the operational manual of the Young Directors Forum?
I will.
And will you work diligently and faithfully for the advancement and betterment of the Institute, the Forum, and its members?
I will.
Will you carry out your duties with approval and under the supervision of the Young Directors Advisory Committee, designated by the Governing Council of the Charter Institute of Directors Nigeria, to oversee the Young Directors Forum activities and operations?
I will.
The next thing is you read that. Next, I,
Ayo of Young Ayo, do solemnly pledge to uphold the goals, missions, and objectives of the CIoD Nigeria Young Directors Forum. I pledge to conscientiously and faithfully perform my duties to the best of my abilities in the service of the forum. I pledge to work with other executive committee members to provide strategic leadership and direction towards achieving the goals and objectives of the Institute and of the forum. So help me God.
esteemed members of the Charter Institute of Directors, Young Directors Forum, it is my pleasure to declare on behalf of the Institute that AO has taken the oath of office and is declared the chairman of the Young Directors Forum. Congratulations. So AO, what we need to do now, we are going to go through the same process with the other members of the executive committee. Why are you ladies? Do you have another microphone for them? I don't know. You can just see.
So, in accepting the office of the CIoD Nigeria Young Directors Forum Executive Committees, to which you have been elected, will you discharge to the best of your ability and all the duties of that office? Will you uphold the professional standing, honor, and dignity of the Institute at all times by example and precept? Will you be governed by the Institute's Code of Ethics and abide by the rules, regulations, and procedures contained in the operational manual of the Young Directors Forum? And will you diligently and faithfully, for the advancement and betterment of the Institute, the Forum, and its members, will you carry out your duties with approval and or under the supervision of the Young Directors Advisory Committee designated by the Governing Council of the CIoD Nigeria to oversee the Young Directors Forum's activity and operations? For this next part, you just please state your name, I, and then you go on. You read it out. I. Esteemed members of the CIoD Nigeria Young Directors Forum, it is my pleasure to declare on behalf of the Institute, these executive committee members who have been sworn into the office for which they have been elected. Will all members of the CIoD Nigeria Young Directors Forum please respond to the following statement? Having elected the members of the executive committee of the forum for the next 1 year, will you carry out your obligations to support and assist them in achieving the Institute's and the forum's goal? Can we get your response? Members?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I therefore, as the newly elected chairman of the Young Directors Forum, congratulate you all as part of the executive committee of the Young Directors Forum of the Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria.
Thank you very much. And congratulations once again to each one of you. As you're all very well aware, the charge that you have taken is an oath of your dedication, your commitment, to the Chartered Institute of Directors and to the forum. So I charge you to put in your very best, put your best foot forward, strategize, work as a team, and ensure that, we upskill, on the achievements that were made in the last 2 years. So help you God. Amen. Amen. So can we take maybe a few words from the Advisory Council? Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. The chairman and president of council, Alhaji Tijani Burodo, the second vice president, Mrs. Amina Oyagbola, the chairman of the YDF Advisory Committee, Dr. Adeyinka Hassan, representative of the CIoD Secretariat, the DG. Thank you for being here. Members of the high table, distinguished members of the Young Directors Forum of the Chartered Institute of Directors, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense gratitude and deep sense of responsibility that I stand before you today as the newly elected chairman of the Young Directors Forum. I am truly honored by the trust you have placed in me. I am committed to working tirelessly to ensure that this forum continues to be a beacon of excellence, innovation, and growth for all young directors across our nation. As we embark on this new chapter, I want to outline my vision and plans for the year ahead. These are plans that are centered on 3 key pillars. The very first is driving membership growth. Our president has rightly given us a charge, and we are in sync, sir, because our projection is to grow our membership by at least 100%, and that you have rightly charged us. The second pillar will be enhancing fundraising, to look for innovative ways to raise funds. And the third is scaling the knowledge base of our members through continuous members' engagement, education, and training. How do we plan to drive membership growth? It is centered around targeted recruitment campaign across various industries: technology, finance, healthcare, and creative sector. We will leverage digital channels to reach a wider audience. We will foster partnership with universities, particularly MBA programs and graduate programs, university alumni, incubators, and professional bodies to identify and onboard emerging leaders who can benefit from and contribute to the forum. Our goal, like I've said, will be to double our membership within the year. ensuring that Young Directors Forum becomes the go-to platform for young directors seeking to make an impact in their respective field. The second pillar will be driving fundraising to support our initiatives. To achieve our ambitious goal, we must ensure that we have the necessary resources to fund our programs, the NKSS, our conferences, and so on and so forth. So we would deepen the resource base of the list of corporate sponsors that we have within our membership circle and outside. We'll partner with organizations that align with our mission. We'll also target high profile events where we can network and talk about the YDF Forum. And this is something we also want to drive down to so that it is top of mind for our members in terms of seeing how they can help to raise funds to support the forum. Lastly, scaling the knowledge base through continuous education and training. In a rapidly changing business landscape, continuous learning is not just an option, it is a necessity. And we've seen how we have been able to achieve that within the last 2 years. The various events we've had, the NKSS that happened on a quarterly basis, and of course, which also culminated into the annual Young Directors Conference. So we plan, working with the Secretariat, launch a series of NKSS led by industry experts, covering topics such as corporate governance. We'll continue to do that because that is really core. Digital transformation, as the world opens up to AI, sustainability will also continue to be a focus, and of course, leadership. We'll be promoting the CIoD mentorship program because as we engage with young directors, with our peers, there's always something, a response. What is the need for me? And I think for us, we will push that. We'll push that further to explain to them what is the need for them. We will work with the Secretariat to see how more access to online resources can be granted to our YDF members, where members can access articles, case studies, and tools to enhance their professional development. Another thing we're looking at is promoting certification and training programs that can be recognized globally. I know that that is already on the offering, but we'll also make suggestions to the Secretariat. We'll also continue to encourage advocacy and thought leadership to position the YDF as a thought leadership by publishing research and policy papers and insights on issues affecting young directors and the broader business community. These are proposals. They are open to iteration as we engage with the DG, as we engage with the President, as we engage with the Secretariat. But I want to thank you all. And also as we move forward, I will invite each of you to come along with us in this journey, as our members have openly attested to support the new ESCO in its vision and its aspiration. Your ideas are welcome. Your energy, commitment will be the driving force behind our success. Together we can build a forum that not only supports the growth of young directors, but also contributes to the development of our nation's economy and our society. In closing, I want to thank the Governing Council of the CIoD. I also want to thank the YDF Advisory Committee, led by Dr. Adeyinka Hassan. I want to also thank our members, those with us here in person and those also joining us online. I also want to thank our DG, and his team, the Secretariat. I'm excited about what we can achieve together. And I'm confident that with your support, we'll make this a transformative year for the Young Directors Forum. Thank you, and let's get to work.
Thank you all very much. Before we close the meeting, we'd like to take a few parting and encouraging words from the Chairman of the Advisory Council, Dr. Adeyinka Hassan.
Okay, it's afternoon already. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, let me thank the Chairman of Chartered Institute of Directors, Chairman of Governing Council and President of the Institute for creating an enabling environment for the Young Directors Forum to thrive. Let me also thank the second Vice President of the Institute for her support. She's always available at every point in time that Young Directors Forum is organizing one event or the other, and we are not taking that for granted. Some of the members of the PCSE were supposed to be here for one reason or the other. They tendered their apologies. We also thank them for their support always. I also want to congratulate the new executive. Yes, they are new, but in the real sense of it, they are not new to the activities of the Institute. We want to thank the leadership of the Institute for giving us this opportunity and creating the governance structure in such a way that before you become the chairman of ESCO, of Young Directors Forum, you would have gone through certain rudiments, being the second vice chairman to first vice chairman, and all within the course of 3 years. That would have solidified your knowledge of the system, and it will help you to be able to give the appropriate leadership required. A number of challenges have been raised. In spite of that, we want to commend the past executive led by Mrs. Akimushere for your contribution to the progress of YDF. YDF was conceived by the leadership of the institute at some point, and we've been carrying on. We started with a steering committee chaired by myself, and that committee gravitated into the advisory committee of YDF. And over time, we've collaborated particularly with the Secretariat led by the DG, Dr. Dele Alimi, to be able to achieve the feat that we have achieved today and is progressing. We are not stopping where we are. There is a lot more to achieve. I'm glad that the president charged the new leadership of YDF that the number of membership should be double within the next 1 year. It will appear to you like 1 year is a long time. Trust me, it is not a long time. So you need to hit the ground running from today. All your plans, as you have highlighted them, ensure, because you will be evaluated on the basis of your promises. At the end of the year, we want to see what you have done, and that will determine even how much you will grow within the system. There is a lot of work to do, so you need to roll your sleeves together with your executive to start immediately. The truth is that, yes, today you are YDF, but at some point you are also going to be part of mainstream IoD, and your track record is going to determine your positioning in the system. You should not despise the days of little beginning. I started very small in IoD, and today I proudly announce myself as the honorary legal advisor of the Institute. And it's a lot of work, but trust me, there are not challenges that you cannot deal with, but your track record will determine your positioning. So I want to use this opportunity to charge you that there is work ahead of you.
Recording in progress.
And, your achievement is what determines what follows afterwards. So I congratulate you and the members of your ESCO. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. There being no further business at this general meeting, it is my pleasure to declare the second general meeting of the YDF closed. Thank you, everyone. Can we take the national anthem?